Hello, I'm Robyn Smith. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Sport Inclusion Australia. Sport Inclusion Australia is a national sporting organisation for people with a disability. We work with mainstream sporting organisations in Australia to build inclusion opportunities for athletes with an impairment, particularly those with an intellectual impairment. We also organise high performance pathways for athletes with an intellectual impairment through to Virtus events and through to Paralympic pathways. I'm also the Vice President of Virtus, which is the International Federation for Athletes with an Impairment. And I've been doing that since 2013. Virtus is the founding member of the International Paralympic Committee. And in December last year, I was elected as the governing board member on the International Paralympic Committee. And with that comes a seat on the 2032 Paralympic Olympic Organising Committee. So I'm quite busy at the moment. But I'm here today to talk to you about the Australian Sporting Alliance for People with a Disability. So back in 2017, we decided, all of the disability groups through the federal government, that we would get together and see what it was that we all did, that we could share services or work more closely together. And that was after 2 or 3 consultancy sessions where we all met and talked about, we had some assistance with consultants, and we talked about what it was that we could do together to improve the services, primarily for people with a disability in Australia. And as you would know, the same in Brazil, we have about 20% of our population have some form of impairment. And we know, as people working in the disability sector, that not everyone is able to access sport and physical activity, but we also know how important it is. So after the sessions where we got together, we identified, we all agreed with the why, that sport and physical activity help people with a disability in their lives. The how was different with the 9 groups that joined together. They included, and I just have to check my notes so I don't miss anyone, the 9 groups include Transplant Australia, Deaf Sports Australia, Blind Sports Australia, Disability Sports Australia, Disabled Winter Sport Australia, Riding for Disabled, Paralympics Australia, Special Olympics Australia, and us, Sport Inclusion Australia. So those 9 groups got together. They all do things slightly differently. So some groups provide direct services. Some, like Paralympics Australia, are providing high performance pathways. We and some of our colleague associate organisations work with the community to build that inclusion element. So we all do things differently with the how, but we realised that together we could do some really fantastic things. So formally, in the end of 2018, at the end of 2019, we formed the Australian Sporting Alliance for People with a Disability, and I was elected chair in the inaugural group. At the moment, it's an alliance. It's an informal group, but we're very close to forming a formal entity, a public company, limited by guarantee. But back in 2019 and 2020, through COVID, we were able to have many meetings virtually from all around the country in Australia. And like Brazil, it's a very big place, and we were able to talk about, on monthly meetings, what it was that we could do together. We formed 4 working groups: participation and pathways. We realised that there were different pathways and opportunities for athletes with a disability, and what was it that we could share and improve. We formed a government and advocacy group, and that government and advocacy group worked at what we could do with each of the government agencies at our federal level and each of our state level, to give them that same similar message that sport and physical activity is critical in the lives of a person with a disability, and they need to be able to access those opportunities easily. We formed a research and innovation group, and that was to look at what we could do with research. I'm unsure what it's like in Brazil, But in Australia, there's not a lot of data, and we use anecdotal data and we tell people that it improves their lives, but where's the data to be able to prove what we're saying? So that working group was looking at ways and means of doing research, longitudinal research, to prove that. And the last one was collaboration and shared services. So of those 9 groups I highlighted, what in those 9 groups were they all doing the same, and how could we improve those services? The sector doesn't get a lot of money, and so obviously our Paralympics Australia gets good support from government to support high performance athletes going to Paralympic Games. But other than that, there's not a lot of money in our sector. So what could we do together to enhance what we did by not duplicating services? And I must admit, the 4 groups have worked together well and reported to the bigger group, which is a representative of each of the 9 national sporting organisations representing disability. We meet monthly, and then those working groups report to us. We set an agenda and we report back to each other. We've been able to help on things like policy development. We've represented the group and the power of the group to government with one voice. We've been able to produce, speak at conventions and conferences and do speeches to everyone about the group and what we do and how we can improve the lives through sport. We've been able to speak to sport, and if sport needs to speak to someone about the needs of an athlete with a disability, they know where to come. We're now currently looking at producing resources. We're talking about a platform, online platform, where a parent that might have a child with a disability, a person with a disability, some sort of agency that looks after people with a disability can go to this online website platform and find resources to help them to get involved. Obviously, we're hoping that the entity will be formed formally at the end of the year and receive federal government support, and we've set out a strategic plan for the next 12 months in the short term to identify what it is that we can still do together. And we've realised the power of collaborating and working together is going to enhance the lives of people in Australia with a disability. Thank you.